right, everybody, welcome to episode 8, the Ocho episode.
Oh, the Ocho.
That's a bold move.
Gents. It's me, your co-host Nardi, back again with Fish and Zoltowski.
Hello.
What's up, guys?
Gentlemen.
And gals.
I have some news.
Oh, I love news. Big news.
We have our first ad read today.
What?
Oh, I see
First
that.
ever ad read, and it's from a local donut shop here called Starlight Donut Lab. This is owned by one of our friends. We are in a couple fantasy leagues with him here. And they have sweet and savory donuts and rotate 10 new flavors every month. You can follow them on Instagram and Facebook at Starlight Donut Labs. They are open 4 days a week, Thursday and Friday, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. And they're also open Saturday and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. They're local here to Cincinnati, so you can find them at 4630 Carter Avenue in Norwood, Ohio. They do cater weddings. They did cater Fish's sister's wedding, so we had some great donuts there. And they've catered over 25 other weddings since they've been in business here. So Starlight Donut Labs, they're a great maker of donuts. I'm actually about to go to their Instagram right now and see what some of the flavors are.
Yeah, I mean, they were great donuts. I mean,
that's interesting.
We've known Ben for years, though, so.
Yeah, that's
we've
interesting,
known
too.
Ben.
I've never seen a wedding have donuts before. I actually kind of like that idea. I love me a good donut.
Love
Yeah,
the donut.
so Starlight Donut Lab September flavors. He's got apple crisp, apple cider, Buckeye, blue raspberry blast, pawpaw pudding, which is a strawberry glaze filled with pawpaw pudding. Now we're getting into one of the savory donuts here. Pepperoni hot honey pizza.
I'm in.
I'm in. Sign me up.
I know those flavors with donuts sound a little weird, but I guarantee you, I've had some of his savory donuts before. He had a jalapeno popper one once, and man, it was one of the craziest good things I've ever tasted. So
He had I had the Thanksgiving one.
Oh, really?
Last Thanksgiving. I mean, it was everything in a Thanksgiving meal into a donut, and it was absolutely fantastic. So, didn't make it on the car ride home. So,
I don't blame you there, man.
Oh, I had a fork with it too. Thank God I wasn't driving the Mustang. It would have been a problem.
And
yeah,
you guys have kept this from me. I drive down there every Sunday for football, and I'm just now hearing about this place.
I tell you what, this Sunday when we go to football, I'll bring some.
Oh, I would love you
I'll
for that.
stop by his donut shop Sunday morning. I'll pick some up and I'll bring some up.
Yeah, but only for the boys, right?
Only for the boys, none
Yeah.
for the wives.
Sucks, Liz.
She's not coming this week.
Oh, well, someone answered my prayer. That's great. Fantastic. We can have fun now.
All right,
We can always have fun.
Please give Starlight Donut Lab a look if you're local. They're a great place. So, I don't know why I sound like Donald Trump at the end of it. They're a great place. Great
I don't
donut.
know. For payment for the ad, though, we get equity in the company, right? Is that how it goes?
I mean, I'll just take
We
free
get
donuts, man.
donuts, and as we're speaking, Jamar Chase just scored a long touchdown.
I hate that. I'm going to lose
hate
my
that
sister
too.
this
Sorry.
week, and I'm never going to hear the end of it.
We're recording again on Monday during the Monday night games because
I didn't put those on.
there is 2 tonight. There's 2 next Monday as well. So I don't know if this is going to be a trend that they're going to roll out in future years, but it's pretty cool. I like having 2 different games because, man, we know when one's a stinker, it kind of sucks that it's in the primetime slot. So,
Dude, I'm here for more football always.
I'm always here for more football.
Or you mean when Denver was like the prime time for like 14 weeks last year?
When Russ
Oh,
was
dude,
at the helm.
Yeah, they couldn't ram that down our throats anymore.
Yeah, that
Dude, the Thursday night games last year, though, were not the best. But
Look at
I
us
think the
joking.
NFL as a whole this year is already shaping up to be just a wild roller coaster ride, which I'm excited to get into this week. But some outside the NFL news that I saw this week, going to the baseball side of things, Fish, I know you're a big Yankees fan. Shohei Ohtani is the first ever MLB player to join the 50-50 club, which for those of you who don't know means he has hit 50 home runs and stolen 50 bases in a single season. So monumental achievement that we've gotten to see in our lifetime. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
So obviously, I mean, he's a different ball player, right? He could play both sides. Not only pitch, he's an incredible pitcher, but then also coming in as a DH is always refreshed, always a solid hitter. My question to you, right? And I've been reading up now. Obviously, Ronald Acuna Jr. last year hit 41 home runs and stole 73 bags, right? Again, I mean, 73 bags is just
That's
an
a lot.
insane. It's a stupid amount. Also hit like 347, I think. If you put those stats, ball players last year for Acuna and then Otani this year, which one's more impressive? 50-50 or 40, what was it, 41 and 73?
I mean, I think they're both incredible in their own rights. I really honestly don't know. I can't give you a solid answer on that.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one.
I think 50-50 is a little bit just because it's the round number. It's the milestones.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're milestones.
50 each, I mean.
Otani's, I mean, when the stat came out, he was hitting for 298. Acuna's finished at 343, I think, or something like that, around there. I mean, but he also stole 73 bags, 23 more bags he stole, right? Hit 9 less home runs. I don't know. I mean, the game obviously has changed with the pitch clock, and pitchers can only throw over X amount of times. So that really gives the runner, as long as they play it safe, it gives them that major lead just because they can't just constantly try and pick them off left and right. I think it's only 2 opportunities they get before they have to throw home, which obviously anyone that's decently fast can take that 6 to 8 feet lead just knowing that the pitcher can't do anything. So I don't know. Incredible ball players. I mean, I'm glad that we're alive today seeing these ball players. I can only imagine this is kind of what it felt like watching, you know, our grandparents watching Manels, the DiMaggios, and stuff like that. So, you know, witnessing greatness and history in the making with these ball players. Hopefully, you know, no injuries. I know Ronald got hurt, but going forward, no injuries plague either of these players. But I mean, we'll see both their names in record books going forward. I mean, it's just an insane feat for sure.
And now on that note too, that game that he hit the 50th home run and I think stole the 50th base, he went 6 for 6 with 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, and 17 bases. I mean, that's...
Here comes that random drug test.
Yeah, I mean, they're talking about him going for 60-60. So, I mean, because he's already at 55 stolen bases and 52 home runs. So, I know there's only a couple games left in the regular season. I don't know if they're counting the playoffs. But we'll see, man. And I think they just said that was Joe Burrow's 100th career touchdown pass in the game as well.
I think he threw the first 99 in the first 3 years, right? In the last 2 years, he's been kind of like, you know, non-existent.
But he was hurt last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but that's my news for the week. I just thought it was cool, you know, share that other sports side in here. So,
That's
Fish,
a hell of news.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm not a big baseball guy, but I will say one thing that Fish mentioned was the pitch clock. Being a guy who used to hate watching baseball because it was so slow paced and, you know, sitting there watching it with my grandparents made me always fall asleep. But I tell you what, man, that pitch clock makes it a lot more exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, I think, what they were hoping for.
Yeah,
so.
Going to games now. Like, we went to the Reds and Orioles game, and the game got delayed by like 2 hours due to weather, and we still stayed to the end because, I mean, it was just so much more fun to watch.
Right.
You know, normally I tap out about the 7th inning just because, you know, I get my stretch in. I'm like, oh, I'm already standing. You know, I still got another hour left. Might as well leave.
Got to beat that traffic.
Already 5 hours in. It's the top of the third. We're like, what are we doing? You know, what is happening here? It's 1,000 degrees outside. Absolutely. So
that's one of my favorite commercials. The you might be turning into your parents' commercials. It's a group of them walking into the stadium. So you guys want to leave around third quarter? Let's not plan our departure before we get into the stadium, okay?
There's a Blink-182 joke that I can't say on the pod, but I will tell you guys after the pod.
I can't wait.
Can't wait, yeah. I had a little bit more news before we get into our week 3 review. This is kind of breaking news. Christian McCaffrey is going to Germany to see a doctor about his Achilles tendonitis. So, if you have picked up Jordan Mason in your league, you may be having a league winner there, because if he's going all the way overseas to get a second opinion, I remember Peyton Manning doing something similar to this, but I feel like it's just something you don't see a lot. Yeah, that kind of came across my screen or my phone while I was streaming earlier, and it I don't know, it kind of raised some exclamation points above my head, if you will.
Yeah, definitely. Go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead, Zoltask. You take it over.
Yeah, that's definitely something I don't think I've ever seen before. A player going to Germany for something that's just, you hear tendonitis. I think that's something even I've dealt with, but different level as a pro athlete. That's literally his livelihood. So interesting to see what this develops into and what treatments they may have or come up with to help a pretty common injury that might even, advance for the regular everyday athletes in high school and in college.
Yeah, and I mean he's getting up there in age. I'm about to look up how old he is right now. I can't believe he's over 40 or 30. I'm sorry, not 40. So
No,
he's 28. So
yeah,
he's
but
getting to that point.
But I mean, as you know, I mean the running back shelf life is even nowadays. I mean, they're trying to lengthen it just a little bit, but I mean, you really have your rookie year if you pop off to 5 or 6 years down the road where you still have your prime, right? Obviously, you have the Derrick Henrys who run it 900 times a year and still do what they did this past weekend. But his health regimen is insane. So I don't know. At this point, 49ers are 1-2. They lost that nail biter to the Rams this past weekend. I mean, Jordan Mason is a very good running. I think they have a plethora of running backs behind there too, who are also very good. Elijah Mitchell, who got hurt as well. But I mean, you've got a lot of running backs, but then you land on this little mini gold mine of Jordan Mason. I mean, there's no rush to bring McCaffrey back, right? Because you don't want to risk further injury. But at one point, do you go, hey, man, you're, this big injury. You've been injury plagued your whole, career. You're getting older. Do we try and look elsewhere? Do we try and trade him away for a pick or something? I mean, he'd still be viable, obviously, with him being healthy, but the risk, I think, outweighs the reward there. I mean, last year he popped off and did incredible, but, I mean, he's not going to see the field for another, 8 weeks, it seems like?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just...
At least.
I mean, if you were a manager, you got to look at, okay, Jordan Mason can step up. We're probably going to go with him going forward and kind of see what we can do or get for McCaffrey. Obviously, it sucks that he got hurt, but I mean, it's been a common trend with him. So
what I'm reading on Sleeper, and this is from Rotoballer, it looks like on Sleeper. His earliest he's able to return is week 6 against the Seahawks. However, there's a good chance the 28-year-old All-Pro will be out beyond that. Now, that's very vague. We don't know how far out it seems like he'll be out beyond that. But, Jordan Mason, definitely a guy you can pick up off the waiver, or you could have picked up off the waiver wire week 1.
He's not there anymore.
He's
I drafted him, and I forgot that I drafted him. I won't even lie to you guys.
Not there anymore.
Definitely a guy that could be a league winner. So, and I don't think Elijah Mitchell's coming back.
No, I think he
needs surgery on his hamstring.
Yeah,
so
he's getting a whole new one. I hear bionic.
The other running backs they have in their roster is a guy named Isaac Garendo. I am not sure if I said that name right. I'm not sure how much he's gotten. 4, 1, and 14% snap percentage the first 3 weeks. Patrick Taylor, and then a guy everybody knows and loves, the Juice, Kyle Juszczyk. But he's more of a fullback, tight end hybrid kind of guy.
Yep.
But the Harvard man himself. So, and I didn't realize Juszczyk was 33. Wow,
yeah, he's
I'm just now learning that. But yeah. I don't know if they'll bring anyone in, but Jordan Mason seems to be the person that's really going to profit off of this.
Yep.
Christian McCaffrey being out. So, Fish, I did cut you off right there. Do you have any news, my friend?
Nah, a little base back to baseball. It looks like the Phillies and the Yankees clinched. So city of brotherly love in Philly is especially past this weekend with the Philly win. We're living pretty good. So obviously playoffs are coming up here soon for baseball. So everyone's just going to lock in just a little bit more, but should be exciting postseason. Obviously, the Dodgers, they were talking about the Dodgers and their lineup and the ball players that they have. And it's just like, okay, Magic Johnson and his boys are doing wonders since they bought the team. So, yeah, I mean, that's the only updates news-wise right now. So
Tigers are fighting for a wild card spot, man.
Well, at least you're not the Reds or the White Sox.
The White Sox.
Won, 35 games this year?
36 and 120.
Ooh, they got one. Nice. Another one. Okay, cool. Good for them. Good for them.
Now, forgive me. Did the Brian Robinson just scored?
Yes, and we love that. We love that.
We do love that.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Luke McCaffrey had a 30-yard reception to set this up. Yeah, he did. While we were talking about his brother.
McCaffrey family is just so athletic.
Coded.
Anyways, forget what I was about to say now. This Brian Robinson touchdown I need him in a league to win, so when he scores, I get very happy. I think the Guardians clinched too, did they not?
I'd have to look it up. I have to see who all clinches. I know there's still some wild card opportunities.
Yes, the Guardians
did
clinch.
They're first in the AL Central, so they must have.
Yep.
Well, they play the Reds tomorrow.
So you got
Easy victory.
Philly, Milwaukee, the Dodgers, the Guardians, and the Yankees are the clinch teams. You got, and then for the wild card, you've got Baltimore, Kansas City, and Detroit is one game ahead of Minnesota right now. And then you have the Padres, the Mets, the Diamondbacks, and the Braves.
The Mets, I mean, ever since, who's the purple guy?
Grimace, dude.
Grimace. Ever since Grimace threw the first pitch, I mean, they've been on a tear.
They dedicated a seat to him, man.
I mean, as they should. They went on like 20-game win streak. Yeah, I mean, they should. Grimace doing Grimace things, so I get it.
Oh, no, Trevor.
Yeah, it's just not it right now. Number 3 is just running at half speed, though.
That's DeMar Hamlin. All right, but that leads us into unless anybody else has any news.
Yes, sir.
Actually, heck it, I have some news.
Woo.
I have gotten back into streaming, and I've been hitting it hard. I've streamed 4 times in the last 2 days. And I plan on streaming tonight after we record this podcast. Going to play a little bit of Overwatch with the boys again. I have invited some people to join us.
Whoa!
I'm not sure if they will, but I expect you guys to be on your best behavior.
Naturally.
That's a hard ask there, bud.
I adjusted my settings, so I think I like them again, so we should be okay.
Yeah, Fish adjusts his settings in Overwatch about every game, so that's always an entertaining experience. Anyways, that's the last thing I wanted to plug for my stream. So
it's great entertainment while I was cooking dinner.
Good, I'm glad. I had a lot of fun. I didn't know how well this stream would do. I did a podcast prep stream where I just sat and worked on the podcast, worked on graphics, and chatted with chat. So it was a lot of fun. Had a lot of people stop by. I was pretty happy. It was great time. But we'll get into our week 3 review here. And I'm sure if you've listened to the last 2 episodes, you know the format by now. We'll go into our week 3 surprises, our fantasy heroes and zeros, and then we'll end with our concerns. So, Soltowski.
Ooh.
I'm interested in what you have written here. So why don't you take it away for your week 3 surprise?
So let me just first say I was dead wrong, and I will admit that. I said that the Carolina Panthers would not win a single game this year. The way that they looked the first 2 weeks was just absolutely atrocious, but they came out this week swinging, and they beat the absolute crap out of the Raiders. Final score was 33-15, I believe, unless they got another garbage time touchdown at the end. But, I mean, that team looked like they were actually firing on all cylinders. And I think, we said that was Bryce the problem. We said he wasn't. I think he was. Because Andy Dalton stepped in there, and he led that team, man. He led that team, made some great plays. And my thoughts are, you sit Bryce the rest of the year and let him play behind Andy and let the vet show him some things.
I mean,
yeah, Andy. Sorry, Fish. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say you bring up a good point, right? Obviously, it's a confidence thing. I think mostly with Bryce there, obviously not really getting the weapons around on the offensive line. I mean, the man has like half a second to do anything back there. Never really had that strong, dangerous cannon of an arm or anything like that. He utilized his feet in college a lot. He's also on the smaller end. I can see how confidence-wise, and then especially being benched, he had something to lose, right? Andy Dalton going in there, a vet who's never really been a horrible quarterback his entire career. Obviously, playing with the Bengals did fairly well, and has been various amounts of backups as of recently. But Andy kind of stepping in there, going, you know what? If it works, great. If it doesn't, who gives a shit?
Yeah, 13th year in the league.
He carried that mentality of, you know what? I'm going to go out there and just do whatever I want. And I'm going to go ahead and either ball out or play like shit. He just doesn't have anything to lose. He looked incredibly sharp. I don't know. Do we give him the MVP trophy next week? I don't know, maybe. But he looked good. That team looked good. Chuba Hubbard even did really well, over 100 yards rushing, caught out of the backfield. I mean, it's kind of like the Chuba Hubbard that we saw late last year. So as long as they can establish that run game, get Deontay Johnson the ball, which they did. Andy looked sharp. He made the right veteran decisions on throwing the ball, the correct passes, knew when to dump it off, throw it out of bounds, run it right. He did well. I mean, the Raiders, it's not like they were playing, the 49ers or anything like that, but the Raiders are nothing to be jokes about. So I'm curious to see what happens to go into the next week. If Carolina can keep that momentum going forward and put up another 30 points or somewhat close to that, or even
36-22 was the final score.
Yep, 36-22.
So, I mean, I'm impressed and also surprised. I think Dalton's got a chip on his shoulder. He's just come out and playing, saying, I don't give a shit. Whatever. The hell with it. Yeah. Let's go ahead and ball out. And that's what he did because there's nothing to lose.
You know who he plays next week, too?
Who's he play? Tell us.
The Bengals.
Oof. Revenge.
Dalton revenge game.
Revenge game. I'm here for it.
No, that's why I wanted you to go first. I think that's everyone's actual surprise for the week. I also read somewhere, and I'm not sure how true this is, Andy Dalton's the first quarterback this season with 300 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yes, he is. I was going to talk about that later, but you mentioned it, so that's fine.
Sorry.
Yes, no, you're good.
Your thunder.
Start the plot over.
That's all right. But yes, no, he is the first quarterback to do that this year. Again, I just think he's going to take the reins there. And I want to comment on you, Fish. You said the O-line didn't look so good, but if you look at Bryce's attitude, his reaction to plays at the end of the game, or not at the end of the game, at the end of the play, he just looks defeated. And these guys that are trying to defend him, well, if he doesn't care, why should I? Whereas Andy's coming in like, hey, let's just go for it. They have that energy. It's like, oh, hey, this guy wants to play ball. Let's go play some ball.
It's that new fire, man. It's that new fire. It really is. And you guys both know this. Same thing happened to Carson Wentz when he was with the Eagles, right? If you don't win that locker room, it's a whole different ball game. Then now you're fighting for yourself and not really fighting for everyone else, and no one else has your back, right? That's why Jalen Hurts was doing well with that team, because he had the buy-in from the locker room. Andy has that buy-in from the locker room. Zoltowski, back to your point, they should 1,000% because they already fielded offers for trades for Bryce Young. They denied all of them. I think they had 4 offers. They haven't really come out with who or what was being offered. But, I mean, you let them sit. We bring this back to the point we've talked about several times on the podcast of don't rush these quarterbacks into shitty positions, right? Like Caleb Williams obviously is a different one. He had all the pieces that were, that team is still finding their groove still. But I mean, look at all the quarterbacks in the past, Sam Darnold's and all these guys. Zach Wilson's, Justin Fields. You put these great quarterbacks that were in college. Now, again, a lot of it doesn't transition because it's a different game going from college to pro. But you put these guys in really shitty positions thinking that they're going to ball out and beat a Tom Brady. And it's just not the fact, right? Look at Jordan Love. He sat behind Aaron Rodgers for 2 years and has done very, very well because he's gained that confidence. He's understanding, learned from a veteran. You can't just throw a guy fresh out of college thinking that you can just run college plays and go, hey, by the way, that lineman in front of you, yeah, he's 6'6" and 350, but he also runs a 4.40. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, it just doesn't translate, right? And you're going to get these guys killed. And then on the opposite spectrum, you get the Sam Darnolds, who then, hot from team to team. and now find a team and find their groove. Now they got that veteran leadership with them too, that mentality, and now they're balling out. So Zoltowski, back to your point, absolutely, you should bench him for the rest of the year, but not as a benching as a hey, you've done horrible, more of a benching of a learning type deal. Hey, learn from Andy. Look what he's doing. Right, because if this is going to be your guy going forward, right, you keep him. If he wasn't, you would have taken one of those trade offers for whatever picks or players that you were going to get. So let him sit, let him watch, let him pay attention. That's my take on it. I mean, Carolina, very impressed based off of last week, but it seems like they're trending in the right direction, especially if Dalton continues to hold the reins there. So,
yeah, that gives Tom Brady's quote that we spoke about last week a whole bunch more, credit. These guys are just thrust into the league, expected to do everything without being developed, and they learn a playbook at Alabama. They don't learn how to actually, drop back, pass, play a pro style offense. And, you see it with guys like Bryce Young, and I hate to say it, you see it kind of with what Caleb Williams is doing right now. I hope Caleb really breaks out and, is who he's supposed to be, but right now he's not looking too good. He's kind of looking like he's going to be on the same track as Bryce Young. But yeah, Fish, you highlighted all the right guys. Chuba Hubbard, Deontay Johnson, 14 targets, 8 receptions, 122 and a touchdown. Chuba Hubbard toted the rock 21 times for over 100 yards. So, and you're able to do that type of thing with good quarterback play because the defense has to respect the pass at that point.
Yep.
So that's all a great point that you guys made there.
Josh Allen threw another touchdown.
Saw that. Shakir.
I hate that.
Khalil Shakir. Good for
Yep.
Khalil.
I dropped him in one league.
But that being said, that entire surprise kind of brings me to my week 3 surprise. And this is a blanket statement, but NFL coaching matters.
This is a good one.
You look at guys like Sam Darnold, you look at guys like Derek Carr. Now I know Derek Carr didn't have a great game this last week. And then you look at guys like Baker Mayfield, who also didn't have a great game this last week, but they're all kind of having a resurgence year, and it matters who's coaching them on that side of the ball. It matters who's calling the plays. And I think that the person that this really highlights more than anyone is Malik Willis. What he's doing right now in the place of Jordan Love is pretty mind-blowing. I was guilty of saying, oh, the Packers are going to be screwed without Love, especially with what we've seen, what Malik Willis has done in the league. No, Malik Willis has been fantastic his first 2 starts in the league, or at least with the Packers. Last week, he went 12 for 14 for 122 and a touchdown. And this week, he went 13 for 19 for 202 and a touchdown. He's not thrown an interception. He's had a QBR of over 85 both weeks, and he's really helping keep that ship afloat there. I mean, Matt LaFleur is the guy that I believe calls plays in Green Bay, and he just seems like a mastermind when it comes to getting good things out of his quarterbacks. Now, that team's obviously better with Jordan Love. I believe that because they can rely on the pass a little bit more than they do the run, but Malik Willis has really blown me away these last 2 weeks, and I think that they're going to be able to rely on him while Jordan's out. So I'm not sure how much longer Jordan Love is out. Pre-game last week, he looked like he was fine. He looked like he could go, but they're not going to rush him back because they're still winning. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Now, they did play the Colts and the Titans, but still professional football players on both sides. So it's still something to talk about for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, like you said, right? It boils down to, I know ever since Love got hurt, we've seen those notifications come across. He could play this week. He's practicing. But yeah, they played the Colts and the Titans. Again, NFL teams, but not on the best side of the ball. But those are 2 wins, right? Those are 2 wins, and now that there's no real pressure to rush Love back, right? Because they're not what 0-3 in the hole or 1-2. They're doing well with Willis. He's gaining the confidence. Honestly, if he keeps playing like this, keeps balling. I mean, the guy's quick. We saw him. I mean, we blinked and he was already 40 yards down the field. So it looks like he's done. I don't know what happened with Tennessee, but it looks like he's got the confidence. He's making those college moves of, okay, can't pass there, dump down's not there, I'm going to go ahead and take off. And he's sliding. He's making smart decisions as he's playing. He's learning and adapting as he's playing the game. So, I mean, if he keeps balling out, somebody out of these teams might look at him to be a possible starter. I mean, again, once he faces like a solid team and stuff like that and a really tough defense. But, I mean, so far, I mean, accuracy-wise, slants or not, I mean, you got to be able to take that ball and throw it in that guy's chest over linemen accurately while people are rushing you, and he's throwing on the run. It's not an easy thing to do. So, right. And that's the smart thing that they've done is give him those easy dump passes, get the confidence up, make him, move, run a little bit. Then they'll start stretching the ball down the field just a little bit more. So, coaching, it goes back to your thing. Coaching matters, and it's crazy how you can see who the real great coaches are with, critical players that go down. You're like, okay, well, they're definitely losing the next 4 weeks, and all of a sudden they end up winning the next 4. It's all about the coaching. So I know. Go ahead, Soltowski.
Yeah, so I agree with you on the coaching 100%, and I'm gonna plug my Lions here for a second. But you look at what Dan Campbell has done in Detroit. I mean, these guys aren't just, I'm signing a contract to play wide receiver or tight end or, running back. I'm signing a contract to be a football player. You watch even those wide receivers out there, they know, oh, hey, Amon-Ra's the target. They're going to throw the ball to Amon-Ra, and when he gets that ball, I'm going to block my ass off for him, even though I'm a skill guy. They're all buying into his philosophy, and I mean, the energy and that drive that he brings to that team is we saw it last year. They made the NFC Championship game. Should have won that game. Really upset about it. Still hurts, but and I agree too. He's got a test coming up, I think, this week with the Vikings. Malik does, and I think he's played really well. He's made some really smart plays. They've thrown him into really good situations to where, hey, get that confidence up, like you said. He's making smart decisions, not to throw the ball after your center throws up on it. So you have a good grip. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I did. That was a wild thing.
That's insane. But the coaching is just becoming better. And even Mike Tomlin, the Steelers finally scored their first offensive touchdown this week in week 3, and they're 3-0. That hurts me to say that because I hate the Steelers. But
you hate the Steelers.
I know.
Tomlin's in my division.
I know.
I got no problem.
But
he's so good, man.
He is. I mean,
infuriating.
The coaching matters 100%. It's great. That's just a great point, Nut. I really think you hit the nail on the head there.
Also, before Fish gets into his winner or his week 3 surprise, I wanted to shout out your Lions for that hook and ladder.
Beautiful.
That was just insane.
Beautiful.
And there's a guy on Twitter, his name's Stuart Finer. I believe he works with Barstool. He posted a clip of it, and his caption is filthier than nuns doing power squats in a cucumber field.
Oh my God. Oh, is that appropriate for the pod?
It's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Go. I always have us rated as, mature, 18 plus, explicit. So
might be 30 and plus. I tell you what.
I mean, you never know what Fish is gonna say. So
yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah,
Fish. Let's get back to your week 3 surprise.
My week 3, a little surprise here. I was very impressed. We all sat at the bar a little further than usual, but nonetheless, we saw the TVs. Watching the Denver and Tampa game, we figured that Baker and Tampa was just going to steamroll. Honestly, a really bad Denver team. They've been bad for years. They drafted this Bo Nix guy. You're like, okay, who is this guy? He did well in preseason. Named starter, has kind of struggled lately. I think this past weekend he kind of found his groove a little bit. Went 25 of 36 for 216 in the air. But importantly, and I noticed carefully, when he was getting a lot of pressure on him, he made the way he might be the fastest man alive. When he was getting pressure on him, he decided to run. He went 9 rushes, 47 yards, and a rushing touchdown. He scored that touchdown. I mean, the whole team exploded. It seems like they get that fire. They get that, I hate to say buy-in again, but it kind of got that buy-in. He looked very, very good against a hot Tampa team who, honestly, last 2 weeks looked absolutely, as more dangerous as, the Ravens and 49ers. I mean, we were putting him up there. Baker's found his groove. He was hitting receivers left and right. He's got a big smile on his face. He looks like he's back in the driver's seat there. But I was very surprised with how Bo Nix handled that game, the pressure that he was under, the accuracy, and just, force feeding the correct receivers too. Now, I know Josh Reynolds didn't get as many touches as I would hope as a fantasy manager, but overall, he really sealed the game there with a hot Tampa team and absolutely picked apart that defense, not only through the air, but with his run game as well, which is very, very lethal. Again, knew the right time to slide, when to get out of bounds when running. So, he ran hard. He was not afraid to get that extra yardage and reach for it. So that was my surprise this week. I was very impressed with how he handled himself, especially coming off the first 2 weeks. He really locked in accuracy-wise and led him to a victory over Tampa. So curious to see what he does for week 4.
I didn't realize he went 9 for 47. That's remarkable.
Yeah, rushing-wise, it was good. I'm even more impressed with the passing. The rushing was not a lot of the schemes were directed like quarterback rush, not like the Ravens did with Lamar. But, when that pocket collapsed, he dipped out and then was down the sideline. He was very smart with when to run and how to do it and where to go. So I was very impressed with that, especially coming off of a rookie, coming from college to transition into the pros. I think he did very well this past weekend with it. So,
yeah, he did. He looked good. That Tampa Bay team, especially watching that Lions game the week before, where they played them, they looked good. They looked real good week 1, and for them to just shut down against the Broncos and the Broncos to come out and really, Bo Nix played really well. 26-7. I thought that would be the opposite. The Bucs were gonna beat the brakes off them, but we'll see. Yeah. This week they play the Jets. The Jets are known to have a pretty good defense. I know they just beat up on the Patriots this week. Shout out Bosom. Sorry for your loss, man.
All right, Bosom.
But another good test. See if he can keep this going. He's 24. He was in college with COVID. COVID years kind of changed this year's draft a lot. So he's got that extra year of experience leading a team. So I think it'll pay off for him. I think he's probably one of the best things to happen to Denver ever since Russ came to town. Broncos country, let's ride.
Yeah, I agree with that. So.
All right, all good surprises this week. So, still getting surprised in week 3. Always good to feel. I hate that we're going into week 4 and almost a quarter of the season's gone, but NFL season moves fast, man. Got to enjoy it while it's here.
Yep.
Love it. Live for Sundays.
But let's get into our fantasy heroes. I'm going to start here. Well, no, let's let Zoltowski start because we already kind of.
Yeah, we'll pick up right where we left off with my surprise there, going right into the Carolina scene with Andrew Dalton as my fantasy hero. He went 26 for 37, like Nut said. First quarterback.
His full name.
Yeah,
full name. He deserves it. He's the Red Rifles back, boys. Like Nut said, first quarterback to throw for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. He had 319. In our league, he had 30.56 points, no interceptions. I saw breakdowns on how he's just thread the needle on these, between 2 DBs, throwing just great balls. He looked really good this week. And, some people may have picked him up just out of, hey, let's see what happens. I need another quarterback, or who knows what. But I wish I would have thought of picking him up because, 30 points is a lot of points. But, he looked good out there, and I'm excited to see what he continues to do.
Yeah, if you're in a super league, that's definitely a guy to look for.
Yeah,
on your waivers this week. You might want to pick up Andy Dalton if you're in actually, even if you have had a quarterback that's been underperforming. Managers, go ahead and pick up Andy Dalton. I don't know if he's going to do this every week, but tell you what.
He looks good. Good.
He looks good. And speaking of guys that can catch the ball, Fish, let's hear your hero for the week.
Yes. So my guy plays on a very powerful team. Good receiving core. Great, running backs. Quarterback is good. Team overall is amazing. They've been plagued with injuries. Debo goes out. Christian McCaffrey's out for, I think, 3 years is what they said. The latest text, everybody got that. Jawan Jennings. That man has stepped up. We all figured that Ayuk would be in there as the number one. This guy was fed the ball, and he seized almost every opportunity. He had 11 receptions on 12 targets for 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, fantasy-wise, if we're looking at it, he was only projected 7.87 points, which is a very mid-tier, especially with Brock Purdy back there. Again, you figure that Ayuk could pop off for at least 20. That did not happen. That man made some incredible plays, incredible catches. He actually ended up finishing with 41, so if you played him, give yourself a pat on the back, standing ovation. That's a hell of a play. Ballsy play, but a hell of a play. That guy just absolutely lit it up. And now with Debo being out possibly a little bit longer, I would be curious to see if he continues to get fed the ball like they did this week going into next week. Ayuk just seems like he can't find the rhythm. Honestly, it seems like it's all ball players that want to talk about money or threatening to hold out. Whenever that year they join back in, they just don't seem to produce. Purdy seems like he found his new favorite target, and this guy has been absolutely balling out there. Made some incredible plays. Anything within it seems like an 8-foot radius, that guy was just all over. And of course, I absolutely cut up the defense. Made some quick cuts, got to the open space, sat on it, and caught it with no hesitation. So, 11 catches on 12 targets. That's mental. And then 175 yards on top of 3 tutties. That's something to be an absolute fantasy hero for the week.
Couldn't agree more.
It's just insane.
Oh, yeah. They needed a guy to step up. You think Ayuk's going to do it, especially after all the drama in the preseason, and he got the contract he wanted. And then Jawan just comes out and just absolutely balls out for them. And it was a good game. I don't know if you guys caught the end of that game, but that was a fantastic game. And I'm very surprised that they did not win, especially with that performance from him.
Yeah, when you get into the skill positions like the receivers, the running backs, anyone that's not a quarterback, usually your fantasy heroes of the week are going to be the ones that get volume. Jawan Jennings was on the field for 85% of snaps, and those targets and reception numbers really reflect that. So I think Debo being out really led to that, but I don't know, man. You might see a lot more 3 wide receiver sets out of the 49ers going forward.
Look, Debo's good, right? Ayuk's good. But, it boils down to 49ers they got a hell of a receiving core. And honestly, with Debo being out, you figure they kind of take a step back. It just doesn't seem like that. Debo's approaching 30 here in the next year. Do you try? Again, it kind of boils down to, do you try and trade bait him to someone else and then have these younger guys step in and fill in? Again, it boils down to what Nutt said with surprising. Coaching matters. And that coaching staff is absolutely insane. It doesn't matter who they have back there. Running, throwing, receiving, they're just going to succeed. It's just the scheme that they have is incredible. So, big shout out to Jennings and that coaching staff there.
Yep, great system they have there.
Another reason why he had such a productive week is because, he's 6'3", 212. Their other large target, George Kittle, he missed this week. So that could be another reason why he got some of those George Kittle targets. I know he's not a tight end, but still, you need that big body in the red zone and stuff like that. So I think that's another big reason why he played so well. But I mean, you look at the end of 2023, or at least in the playoffs in 2023, he balled out in the Super Bowl. I remember that. He played well. I think he played well in the games leading up to that. Maybe not in the regular season, but Jawan's a pretty good player. So hopefully he gets a little bit more time on the field. He's been averaging about 50% the rest of the 50% snap percentage, I should say, for the rest of the year. So,
well, that's going up. That's for sure going up.
Yeah, 100% going to go up. Yeah, they're plagued with injuries right now. That's just a couple guys at work I work with. They're both 49ers fans, and that's all they talk about is how that team's held together with duct tape and dreams. And I mean, it's working.
A team is deep, that's for sure. Now my fantasy hero is the same guy that was my fantasy zero last week. I'm not sure if he's a listener or what, but he really turned it around. Amari Cooper. This is another guy that gets the volume when he's in. He was in 90% of the snaps. This week, he had 12 targets, 7 receptions for only 86 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns. 86 yards doesn't seem like a lot, but I'm not sure how many yards the Browns had throwing altogether. I haven't really felt like looking at the box score of that game in a little bit. So
yeah, that one hurts. That one hurts a lot.
Who'd you guys lose to?
The Giants. They just
a double ass Danny Dimes. I think
he's been upgraded.
I think he gets an upgrade to just single ass this week.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, Deshaun only had 196 yards, 148 net yards with all the sacks. So, took 8 sacks for 48 yards. Just can't win a football game doing that.
Hey, better than Trevor Lawrence is doing right now.
We'll get into that as a concern in a little bit, but Amari Cooper, happy he balled out, happy he kind of found his stride, and hopefully just keeps it going for the rest of the year. The Browns are in a bad spot right now, seems like, so they did have a bunch of chances to win that at the end of the game, and they just couldn't string it together.
Well, they started out with a fumble recovery and a touchdown in the first 11 seconds of the game?
Yep, first 11 seconds, they scored their first 7 points.
So Amari.
And they didn't score again until I think the third quarter, maybe the fourth quarter, but they scored a 2-point conversion and then they just couldn't string together the rest of it. Defense looked a lot better in the second half for the Browns, but yeah, just overall an embarrassing performance to say the least.
Yeah, on a week 4 for you guys.
But as for fantasy zeros, now this is going to play off of what I said earlier about volume and usage. Ramondre Stevenson, he in our league gave the other team points this week. He only played for 46% of the offensive snaps. Part of that could be game script. Part of that could be he got in trouble for losing that fumble during the game, but he only had 6 rushes for 23 yards. He had 0 receptions on 0 targets. And again, only being on the field for 46% of the time, you really think a player like him, where he was drafted, is going to have much more of a productive day. His projection was 13.86 points, and I show here he scored negative 0.7 points with that fumble lost. So that is alarming, to say the least.
It's just wild to me that he's clearly the one of the best players on that team, right? When they won against the Bengals, they force-fed him, not only in the receiving game, but the running game. Last week, they did the same thing. Unfortunately, they didn't come up with the victory, but, I mean, they fed him. They fed him. Then this week, regardless if you lose a fumble or not, you got to feed your best player. And they just didn't do it. They had Antonio Gibson in there. Now, he did well last week. He did okay this week, but You got to feed your guys. You got to do it. And if you want to give your best chance to win, you feed Ramondre. And especially since he's not only just a normal running back, north south, coast to coast type guy, he also receive out of the backfield. I don't know what's going on with Jacoby Brissett, or Drake May is going to eventually take over, or what's going on, but the offense just looks stale. Especially this past weekend, I'm sure Bosom was absolutely loving it too. I can see with how red his face was, filled with frustration. But to me, you got to feed your guys. You got to. There's no reason you don't.
Yeah, so we did watch that game together online because it was a Thursday game. From what I saw, it was a lot of really, really bad offensive line play. Now, that seems to be a trend in the league right now, but yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, Ramondre, week 1, had a 78% snap percentage, toted the ball 25 times for 120 yards, and caught all 3 of his targets. Week 2, he had a 72% snap percentage, took the ball 21 times for 81 yards on the ground, and then caught 2 of his 5 targets for only 9 yards. But, it's probably just a safety valve play at that point. But yeah, I don't know if it was, time of possession disparity. I don't know if it was just, they were behind so far, so they ran more receivers out there and then maybe used Gibson as the receiving back. I mean, he didn't have that much time on the field either. He had 37%, and then for some reason they played Jermichael Hasty 17%, which he hasn't really touched the field prior to that. So definitely I think it's going to be an outlier for Ramondre. The Patriots definitely have to figure out what they're going to do with offensive line. They have to figure out the protection for Jacoby Brissett. I mean, he was hurting back there. There was multiple times he got sacked. I don't think that we even looked at how many times he got sacked, but I'll pull it up here real quick. Yeah, Jacoby got sacked 5 times for 46 yards. And Drake May, when he got in, got sacked twice for 13 yards. So that brought their net passing to 61 yards as a team. And that is just, you can't win a football game doing that.
Nope.
No, I agree with you there, Fish. You got to feed your best guy. Just let him try and eat. And you're right there too. We'll talk about the protection here a little bit later. It's been pretty bad. A couple teams across the league, but I mean, 46% snap percentage when he's one of the best guys on the team. That number's got to be higher if you're going to want to try and win games. He looked great against the Bengals. Looked good week 2. Outplayed outscored on his projections both weeks, and it feels like they just didn't utilize him. And again, I know I brought up the Jets have a pretty good defense. You got to try. You got to give the guy a chance. Let him figure it out.
Yeah.
But
yeah, definitely. Going to be interesting to see what they do going forward for sure. So, Fish, let's get into your fantasy zeros for this week because you have 2.
I'm just kind of like tandemly, just a little comparison here. This guy, ever since he stepped into the league, has been an amazing tight end. Guy's been balling out left and right. Honestly, you would say ever since Lamar came into the scene in Baltimore that he was his favorite target. They didn't really have a solid receiving core. They trusted Mark Andrews. They trusted that guy. He could catch. You saw his off-season workout videos. He was training to get better, quicker, faster, stronger. This man only had 1 target. What the hell are we doing? And it was a garbage. It was a late target. It was thrown at his feet. I don't understand what happened from last year going into this year. I don't know if Mark Andrews pissed somebody off or what. I know he's getting older, but even then, it looks like he didn't lose a step. He was keeping up with some of the running backs that he was going out and blocking for. So he had 1 target. On the other side, Likely only had 1 catch for 4 yards. Last week, Mark Andrews only had 4 receptions for 51 yards, which is very subpar of his performance last year. And then Isaiah Likely only had 2 catches for 26 yards. I know that Flowers has looked very, very good, very, very lethal when he catches the ball, especially the little screen passes. He's quick and he's shifty, which is great. Lamar's doing a lot of things on the ground like he usually does. He's gotten better at throwing, but man, what a dud this guy has been so far for fantasy. And again, I brought up last week with Jamar Chase. It's a week in, week out thing where tight ends are a dime a dozen. And you look at Mark Andrews' his capabilities and his plays from last year and the years prior, going to this year, you can't really sit him. You can't. Because at any minute he could pop off for 10 receptions, 100 yards, and a touchdown. But again, tight ends, most of them have been scooped up within the first, 8 rounds, and then you're scraping at the bottom of the barrel, and then you're kind of looking for that guy that might pop off for 25 points a week and then does 3 points the rest of the next 4 weeks. But Mark Andrews has been an absolute dud as a fantasy manager for anyone out there. I understand your guys' pain. I got him in a few leagues. And honestly, it's making me think, do we put removing tight ends as a position up on a fantasy team? Because, man, if you don't have the top 3, there is almost 80 points difference fantasy-wise, if not 100 or more, compared to the top 3 to the rest of the league. It's very worrisome as a fantasy zero for this Mark Andrews guy. I just don't know what's going on, if Lamar's not looking at him or the scheme's changed. But he was such a trustworthy target for him last year, and now it just doesn't seem like it is this year. So that's my fantasy zero. It's Mark Andrews.
You say the scheme's changed, and I think that's a big part of it. Looking here now, Lamar only attempted 15 passes, and he completed passes to 7 different people. So out of the 12 of the 15 passes he completed, Rashad Bateman led the team in receptions at 3. And that's just, if you have any Baltimore receiving shares out there as a fantasy manager, that's going to be a tough pill to swallow. They did have Derrick Henry tote the rock for 25 times. Lamar took it himself 14 times. And Justice Hill, voice correct counter, Justice Hill toted the ball 5 times for 33 yards. So we saw this game at 4:25. The Ravens came out early, and they were hot early. So I think that they just kind of relied on the running game the rest of the game. I mean, they were up what looks like 21-6 at half. And then the Cowboys actually scored 19 points in the fourth quarter, which
I thought they were going to. I thought the Ravens were going to lose. I won't even lie to you.
I don't know what's going on with the Ravens and like the end of the game, but they are struggling to close games out this year. For the Cowboys to almost to come back and win that game is wild to me. Yeah, so I think it could be partly game script. I don't know though, Fish. It seems like Isaiah Likely's getting a lot more playing time, a lot more looks. I can look at their snap percentage splits real quick. Zoltowski, you want to talk while I'm looking this up?
Yeah, no, I just think, tight ends as a whole this year, and it's early, so this could change, but I feel like we're seeing them less utilized, and there's becoming more of a reliance on a run game or just your really speedy wide receivers. If you look at your leaders in the boys league, the top tight end has 42.9 points for the whole season so far with Dallas Goedert, and I know he broke off a big one at the end of the game there to help set them up for that win. But then if you go look at your wide receivers, top guy's got 68.5 with Malik Neighbors, and I know he popped off against the Browns.
Oh.
But then you have Saquon as a running back with 84.4 points. So I just think, looking as a manager, I've got Laporta, I've got Njoku, 2 guys that produced a ton for me last year, and they are not, they're just not hitting their stride. And maybe it's because it's early, and we're just seeing a lot more running than passing. But I don't know. I feel like, it's, to your point too, Nut, he only threw, you said 15 times, I believe.
Yep, 15 times completed 12.
I mean, and they fed Derrick Henry that ball, and they let him eat, and maybe that's the way the league's going. I think it's a little bit too early to tell. I know we've made a ton of calls that are probably too early, anyways, but it'll be something to watch going forward to see. Hey, are we looking at changing how tight ends work? Because I know I have a buddy who does tight ends get 2 points per reception instead of just 1, because. Are they going to get targeted less? Do we still need to make that position on the roster valuable? I don't know. That's something we could talk about, but definitely not the guy that he was last year for sure. I remember whenever I played against him, I think you have him in our league, Fish, and I hated it because he always would match my tight ends in production.
Yeah, all not this year. So
I'm looking at the snap percentage differences. This is the first week Isaiah Likely has outsnapped Mark Andrews, and it's to a ratio of 62% to 33%. So,
Jade Daniels touchdown, by the way.
Quite a bit more good. Man,
I'm telling you, I had them
20
winning
to 10 right now. That's crazy.
Yeah.
They're covering the spread right now too. The Bengals were 7.5 point favorites,
and the Bills are just blowing out the Jags. Trevor Lawrence looks terrible. He's got 0.66 points in our league right now.
Jaguars as a whole look terrible. Anyways, I will say this. Mark Andrews always has huge games against Cleveland. So if he is on your team, if you're a fantasy manager of his, play him week 8, play him week 18.
Just seems like everyone has big games against Cleveland.
Mark Andrews has crazy huge games against us every year. Looking last year, he had 25 points in week 4. Week 10, we actually held him in check, but
what, to 15?
No, to 4. But yeah, he's always balling out against us, it seems like.
Yeah, but I'll go into my fantasy zero for this week. Just talking about guys, throwing the ball, guys that catch the ball. I had Rashid Shaheed this week. 0 catches on 5 targets, which again, low amount of targets, but still. Last week he went 4 for 4 with 96 yards and 1 touchdown. He had that 60-yard bomb, and looked solid. And to not catch the ball once. And I know they played the Eagles team, and
lockdown.
I was excited for the defense. Excited to see it. Finally come out there when they finally put the game on the TV, because they had to have the Browns on 5 different TVs, but they couldn't put the Eagles games on. It's fine. It's fine.
We're fine with that.
Are you? You can watch your team lose against the Giants and 5 different TVs. Yeah, one of them was actually lagging behind, so you get to watch it twice. Crazy.
But honestly, I kind of wish the bar would have got hit with an EMP.
Oh my God!
Halfway through the game.
It's fine. We'll just pick a different place to eat at next week. But
anyway, stay tuned.
Yeah, but just a guy who looked to produce. Derek Carr played well first 2 games of the season. Maybe just an off week playing a tough team. But you gotta catch the ball. That's your main job out there. You throw the ball 5 times, you gotta catch at least one of them. But to come out with a fat dud, that's just 0 territory for me.
Yeah, this is the first week I started Rashid Shaheed.
Oh,
really great that he puts up this performance. Now, I don't know if this is going to stick around or whatnot, but hopefully this is just an outlier week for the Saints. They've been really fun to watch these past 2 weeks.
Here's a fun fact. Yeah, no, they definitely have been. Here's a fun fact, though. In one of our leagues, I started Mark Andrews and Shaheed. Shaheed.
A tongue twister there, bud.
I think I blacked out. Hello.
Shaheed.
All right. So I think that wraps up the zeros for the week. Nut, if you don't mind, just because we kind of have the same concern here, just for different teams. I'd like to kick this one off and talk about the pass protection here, specifically for the Chicago Bears. We talk a lot about Caleb Williams and how he was really hyped up in Chicago. He was going to be the guy to save the Bears. They were going to go back to being the Bears. That hurt me. But he was sacked 4 times this week and has been sacked 13 times total already. And now his stat line was pretty good. He threw for 2 touchdowns, 267 yards, but also had 2 interceptions. I feel like he's being rushed. I saw a screen clip of the game where they were running a speed option, and all of the Bears linemen were almost on the ground, and you had 4 Colts players just sprinting wide, unblocked towards this option. And we've kind of seen it around the league. We saw a little bit in Carolina at the first 2 weeks with Bryce Young. I know I talked about another clip I saw of a lineman just getting bowled over. These guys are getting paid to be up there, be in the trenches, and battle for. You got to protect your quarterback, and it even comes down to when you keep that running back in for protection too. They're also not doing their job. Even with the tight ends in there. And I think for this Bears team to succeed, they're going to have to get these guys to give Caleb more time to throw the ball. Because when he has time to throw the ball, he can make good throws. He does make some smart decisions. But a lot of times when you see him throw those interceptions, you see him just kind of run around, with like a chicken with his head cut off. He's scrambling, trying to figure out something to do because he wants to win football games. But I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on that, especially on your side there, Nut, with the Browns.
The Browns, I'm just going to briefly talk about the Browns. They're having a lot of offensive line injuries right now. Now, this last week, they did have 3 starting linemen go out. Well, not starting linemen. They had 2 starting linemen and then another backup go out with injuries. We eventually had a makeshift offensive line happening where we kicked out our all-pro left guard to left tackle. We slid our center from center to left guard, put in a backup center, had a backup right guard in, and then had our backup right tackle in already. So just a makeshift offensive line at that point. Hopefully these guys get healthy. Hopefully the training staff really gets them rehabbing and, able to play and protect Deshaun going forward. Deshaun has been sacked 16 times for 94 yards this season. I'm not sure if that leads the league, but I'm sure we can figure that out here pretty quick. But it's just tough to watch. Now, they're not my concern this week. That was a concerning performance, but my big concern going forward for the rest of the season is the Miami Dolphins offense. Fish talked about a chain last week, how good he is. I just don't see the production happening from Skylar Thompson. Skylar did get hurt this game. Before he got hurt, he was at 107 yards on 13 completions after 19 attempts. He did get sacked 5 times for 37 yards. Now, a lot of that watching that game looks like it was a lot of him, not really getting the ball out quick. He was holding it for a while, but he's just not getting the ball to his big play guys. Tyreek only had 3 receptions for 40 yards. Jalen Waddle had 4 receptions for 26 yards. And combined Devin Achane carries, receptions, had 14 touches for what looks to be 58 yards. So, tough sledding this week for sure in Miami. I'm not sure if they're going to bring in another quarterback. Skylar Thompson, I feel like we've seen him play at multiple places throughout his short time in the NFL. I think didn't he start a couple games for the Jets last year? Or am I thinking of the wrong guy? I believe he did. No, I must be thinking of somebody else. It looks like he's been with the Dolphins both of his years, but they did eventually bring in Tim Boyle. Tim Boyle, Lions legend from what I hear. He is also not the answer in Miami, so they need to figure something out. Tua, we've already said we're not sure when he'll be back, but that poor quarterback play is really impacting those skill position guys. And we say coaching matters. McDaniels is one of the best ones out there, in my opinion, but he needs to get more out of that quarterback position for sure.
Definitely.
Oh, 100%. They need to start looking into what they're going to do. I still think Tua needs to hang it up, but we talked about that a lot last week.
Yeah.
But they got to find their guy. Do they say, hey, the season's chalked? If Tua can't come back, I think he's still talking to medical professionals, or he's already made a decision. I haven't really seen too many updates on that. Season's chalked. Let's try to trade for some draft picks, or let's try to trade for a quarterback to maybe try and salvage the season. Possibly, I don't know who they would really trade away. It's not going to absolutely burn them.
You know who would look good in teal and orange?
Who?
Russell Wilson.
Oh, dude.
I'm just saying.
Dolphins country. Let's ride.
I think he'd look good.
He might. But if he comes back and the Steelers start him over Justin Fields, I think Justin requests that trade, and maybe Justin goes to the Dolphins.
That'd be nice.
I think if the Steelers go 4-0 with Fields at the helm, they can't.
No, they can't. They can't. Then they put Russ up there, and try to get some more value, and maybe the Dolphins are interested. Because they're gonna have if like I said, if they can't find someone, looks like too. He had a chest injury this week too, so we'll see if he even comes back. So I don't know who his backup is. Skylar Thompson, that is.
It's Tim Boyle.
Oh, you said that. I'm sorry. I blanked for a second because I was just appalled by the Russell Wilson. But they're gonna, if the season trends in this direction, they're gonna have a high round draft pick that they can go and try to get a quarterback from somebody. But who knows? It's to be seen. So
I don't know. It's hard to tell. They just need somebody else there to get any value out of those players, I think. Fish, I believe this man that you have, I believe it's his second time on the concerns list.
This guy here, right? As a quarterback, the biggest thing that you could probably pose and should be a strength in anyone's eyes, right? As a quarterback, is accuracy, and this man has zero of it. Watching him play this past weekend and the week before, being a fantasy manager of him, it is painful to watch. Anthony Richardson. This guy is a massive human being who can do incredible things on the ground, is very quick, tough to bring down. He's got a hell of an arm. He can throw it what seems like 4 football fields. But, man, that thing, he skies it more than Daniel Jones. And honestly, if the Colts didn't have Jonathan Taylor leading the reins, and they should, again, it goes back to that feed your best player type mentality. If they didn't feed him this past weekend and, since the season started, they don't win any games. Anthony Richardson has just looked abysmal throwing the ball. He looks very uncomfortable. This past week, he went 10 of 20 with a QBR of 17.6. Didn't know it could get that low, to be honest. And then week 2, here's a kicker. He goes 17 of 34 with a QBR of 37.3. Those are extremely, extremely low numbers, especially for an elite player, high draft pick that they got for them. It's very, very concerning. If I'm a Colts fan, I know that guy sings that Colts theme. I'd probably be singing a different tune if I see this continued performance going from this guy. When he runs it, an amazing player to watch. He does incredible things with his legs. But, man, he can't run it 100 times a game. Got to rely on the pass, and it just seems like even the quick slants and dump passes, it's either over or under, and we're just not utilizing Michael Pittman. Alec Pierce is getting a lot of deep balls. When he does throw the deep balls, for some reason he's insanely accurate from 50 yards and out. Anything 50 yards and close, it just he has no idea what's going on. That's my concern, especially going forward with the Colts. They got a young team. Offense looks good. Offensive line's holding for now. They got a good dual threat quarterback. But man, if I'm a Colts fan, it's looking concerning. That yeah, I understand a bad week, but this has been consecutive weeks of very very low percentages of accuracy. So that's my concern, and hopefully he turns it around this going into week 4. But it's not trending that way, and it just doesn't look good. I think maybe he just goes to the Dolphins since all he can throw is the long ball. Tyreek will be down there somewhere, or Waddle. So
yeah, I know he's gonna be sitting the bench for me. It might even go up on the trade block. But I saw a quote that actually made me chuckle about Anthony Richardson is he can make 99% of passes that other quarterbacks can't. That are those long deep bombs. But then on the opposite side, he can't complete 99% of passes that other quarterbacks can. Those short, quick slants. And like you said, he's amazing when he runs. I think back to that the clip from when he was playing at Florida, and he just scrambles, makes it work, and he's got a guy open in the corner of the end zone and just dots him up. A great play. But I mean, he's got to figure something out. I know. I talked about him actually. This was a week in show 6, same thing. Coming off that first week game, he only all of his passes were just deep bombs, all of his touchdowns,
which looked great. But I mean, if he can get his accuracy, I'm not saying he has to be 100%, but if he could just increase that, I don't know, go 15 of 20, or hell, even take 14 of 20, or 24 of 34. If he can get that just a little bit above average, that little bit better, but accuracy wise, this guy's going to be a top 5 quarterback. With the way he runs, the way he can stretch the field, it's not like an Andrew Luck where he just sits in the pocket. I mean, Andrew Luck is very accurate, but I mean, everybody knew that he just wasn't going to run anywhere. But now this guy opens up. He's very quick. He's hard to bring down. This guy could be something special, but holy shit, as a QB coach, I'm like, what are we doing? Like let's just 4 hours just throw into a net or just throw to somebody open. It's tough to watch sometimes, especially with the talent that he has. And, Jonathan Taylor being back there, a top 5 back, and he's having a hell of a year. Michael Pittman, you got this young offense there, and it's just bad throw after bad throw. And it's bad when you have these massive receivers that are jumping for it and still can't reach it. It's a big problem. It's a big concern for me.
Yeah, say what you will about his throwing, but his running is actually what scares me. He runs like a defensive lineman would when they get a random pick. He looks for contact, man. He puts that shoulder down. He doesn't care what shoulder it is, and he tries to run through somebody. I think he needs to do a little bit better of a job at protecting himself when he runs. And I think he'll be fine. But yeah, his rushing is what scares me. I know that's what he's good at, but he needs to protect himself a little bit more. That's what kind of threw him out of the year, or threw him out of the season last year.
Yeah.
Week 5?
He had a concussion week 2.
Week 2. Okay.
Yep.
So he's
and
already
then
past that this year, but
he was out week 5 for a injury to his shoulder AC joint sprain.
yeah. So it's definitely something to worry about, the way he searches for contact.
Yeah.
All right. Is that all of our concerns? Did we get through all those there?
That is it.
Yes.
All right. Awesome. Let's get into our week 4 preview now. We do have 2 NFL games to preview, and then Zoltowski decided he wanted to go more towards the college route, which I think is awesome. So, Zoltowski, let's have you start here.
Yeah, starting with Saturday Night Football this week. We got Georgia playing Alabama in Alabama. So got an SEC title game rematch. Georgia, they had a bye week this week, but the week before they only won by 1 point against Kentucky, 13-12. So they were ranked number 1 overall. Now it's Texas. Not the performance you expect to see out of the number 1 team. I know the SEC, that's a tough conference, especially this year. That the whole conference is looking great, and I hate it because all we hear about is the SEC this, the SEC that. But Bama, and again, when Alabama loses, America wins in my eyes. They have not scored less than 40 points this year, so I think we're going to have a great game. On Saturday night, I'm going to be watching it on my phone while we're at that party because damned if I miss this game. I think it's just going to be a slugfest like the SEC title match was last year. I think we're going to see a lot of big plays, and I'm just excited for it. It's the first big top 5 matchup of the year. We've got Bama's ranked number 4, and Georgia is still sitting at number 2, unless that's changed in this week's poll.
Still number 2,
correct.
So top 5 versus top 5. I'm excited. I'm here for it. I think it's going to be it's on a Saturday night, 7:30 night game. I'm here for it, man. So glad football's back. Can't stress that enough. There's a commercial for it right there on the Bills game. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Speaking of that party, Saturday, I did have lunch with the host of that party last week.
Another lunch?
No, this is the same lunch. And I told him about this game and how we would like to have it on the projector downstairs. And he said no. He's going to have a silent Halloween movie playing for the atmosphere.
I will bring a television and a streaming stick. We will watch this game.
I
want to watch this game though. This is going to be.
I'll bring the iPad. We'll crowd around the iPad and we'll watch it on the iPad.
That's fine. Next to the table of food.
Of course.
Okay.
We'll say
big guys.
It's official podcast business.
It is.
We have to sit down and watch this.
It is. I agree. I concur.
But yeah, it's great end to the. Sorry, no, you're good. Great end to the week there, to kick off the college football, and then go right into NFL.
Yes, I shall talk about my game of the week. We're looking at Dallas versus the Giants. Giants obviously coming off of a massive, huge, enormous victory against those Browns or whatever. They did nothing but feed Neighbors. I mean, Neighbors, Danny Dimes threw everything over him or under him. It looked like any pass that was going to Neighbors, he was still in midair when he caught the ball. Obviously, it's a big concern with accuracy. Again, we talked about it with Richardson, but Danny Dimes is just a different breed. We'll get into that later. But Neighbors looks insanely good. This guy's going to be absolutely dangerous as long as, again, they feed their best players. Could be an issue going forward for any teams trying to match up with Neighbors. Now, on Dallas's end, they have struggled on both sides of the ball, not only offensively, but they did lead a comeback against the Ravens yesterday. Again, Nutter brought it up that for some reasons Ravens like to make things very, very close. Seems like CeeDee Lamb had a few crucial drops, easy drops that he normally catches with his eyes closed. Big issues there. It looks like Dak and CeeDee are just not on the same page there. Dallas as a whole, their defense can't find it. Offense is kind of struggling. I think they're really missing that run game there. As far as New York, just kind of highlighting some of the things that happened this past weekend. Danny Dimes, again, love Danny Dimes. He went 24 of 34 for 236 and 2 touchdowns and added 20 yards on the ground. The big thing here, I want to highlight and stress the importance of this. He did not throw an interception. This man is an interception machine, and this is one game that he did not throw an interception. So kudos to you, Danny Dimes. Neighbors also had 8 receptions for 78 yards and 2 touchdowns. In his first 3 weeks, he's averaging in half PPRs, Neighbors is, 19 points, and then in full PPR, 22.83. I mean, this guy has been efficient for every opportunity that he's been given, and it's looking like for a fantasy rookie, and a rookie in general, this guy has been absolutely balling out. So kudos to the Giants for really utilizing and getting Neighbors the ball. On the Dallas side, the run game just isn't there. Over the last, since 2011, they've had Pollard, Elliott, McFadden, and Murray. They've always had that dominant run game, and I know Zeke came back this year. But man, they were in a weird spot where they just cannot find that run game, and teams are noticing that. Again, CD, we talked about the big money contracts. It just seems like teams just don't produce, which is unfortunate. So I know they've had a lot of. There's a couple shouting matches on the sidelines there between Dak and CD, but they just can't find the rhythm. They're 1-2 currently, and honestly, the way that the Commanders are playing right now, they might have a rough game with them. I know the Eagles and Dallas is probably going to be a low-scoring game, even though it's both high-powered teams. But on the defensive side for Dallas, they've had 0 turnovers and 0 sacks, which is very, very unlikely. We watched the game the other day, and Micah Parsons was getting at the quarterback. Obviously, Lamar being very, very elusive. It's very tough to break him down, but that defense looks very, very rough. Again, want to point out that Dak and CD had some very, very crucial drops towards the end of their comeback. Unfortunately, well, for most of us, fortunately, they ended up losing, but their chemistry-wise as a fantasy manager for CD and Dak, it's tough to watch again. Some of those easy passes, I know Dak had like 51 opportunities to throw it, which is just an insane amount, which means that their run game is just not there, which the defense then can just either pressure and push back, or really just play that prevent defense essentially and just let Dak try and find that hole. Again, not with CD unfortunately missing a lot of those easy opportunities. The game could have been closer. They ultimately could have ended up winning it. I know after the game, before that, CD, the last 2 weeks, he's only caught 13 balls for 218 yards and a touchdown within the first 3 weeks, which is very, very unlike him. Honestly, based off of last season's repertoire, he did start out the same way. So hopefully mid-season he ramps it up and pops off for 10 receptions a game, which seems like his common trend. But they are having a lot of trouble finding their rhythm. And Jerry Jones does not look happy. I know when Dak was walking into the locker room, one of the reporters had said something to him, and Dak said, go ahead and jump off if you want. CD, I know, arguing on the sideline with Dak. Of course, the camera zoomed right in on that. CD said, I'm not going nowhere. I'm going to be here all day. Again, with the Ravens playing Dallas, it was very run heavy with Henry there. Popping off for 25 carries for 251 yards. He averaged 6 yards a carry with 2 touchdowns. Jackson, 14 of 87 for 6.2 yards a carry. And even Justice Hill, 5 of 36 with 6.6 yards a carry. If I'm a Dallas fan, I'm in trouble. I'm creating a little bit of panic, especially with how everybody anticipated how we were going to go into the season, being high-powered offense, insane defense, and nothing seems to be clicking. So honestly, this is a perfect game for both teams. The Giants to continue that momentum after beating a really horrible Browns team, getting that momentum, continue feeding neighbors. Sorry. And then Dallas to get everything back on track, beat a team that's not insanely overpowered, but then kind of find their rhythm again, go through their defense. Micah Parsons pops off, gets a couple sacks, puts a lot of pressure on the defense. And then Dak finds his rhythm with CD. That's the most crucial thing. But I think the biggest piece missing there is the run game. The run game is they don't have one, and teams are noticing that, as I said earlier. So, but that's my game of the week. Dallas at New York. It's gonna be a hell of a game. I know it's division rivals, so we're hoping that both of them somehow lose. I don't know, maybe if that's possible.
A tie would be good.
It's gonna be I'll take both losses, but it's gonna be a good one for sure.
No,
a good old-fashioned tie.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be a good game. You speak about Danny Dimes. I know we make fun of him a lot. The double ass finally getting upgraded to just single ass. Last 2 weeks he's produced. Can he keep it going? Seems like the Cowboys really don't get started until the end of the game. So I think it'll be an interesting game to watch. Always want to see the Cowboys lose. Cowboys fans have the best memes on the internet because they always look just so disappointed, like you just shot their dog in the face right in front of them. And I live for that because it makes me laugh every time I see it. A guy wearing the big a cowboy, a hat with the star on it, and he just looks just depressed. And it's just funny to me because I was there as a Lions fan. But that's a great game to watch. I think it'll be fun.
I was there as a Browns fan as well, Zoltowski, and
you're still there. Don't lie to me.
It'll get a lot more funny when the paper bags start coming out.
Yeah,
the
good old
shame.
The good old paper bags.
Yeah, buddy. All right, Fish. Those are all good points. From what I heard, at least we were having a little bit of connection issues there, but
yeah, he sounded like a robot.
I think he went through unscathed. Looks like their recording's still going too, so that's good. Anyways, my week 4 game of the week is going to be Minnesota at Green Bay. I'll keep this short and sweet. It's a division matchup. Could have a lot of meaning down the road. Minnesota is one of the only 2 unbeaten teams left. Them and the Seattle Seahawks. My biggest question for this game is, does Jordan Love play? Jordan Love is going to be a much better quarterback for this matchup than Malik Willis will be. Now, we did give Malik his flowers earlier, but Malik has not really played a defense of this caliber with, Brian Flores at the helm there as the defensive coordinator in Minnesota. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Brian Flores gets this, what I like to call the no-name 2024 Vikings defense, gets them to execute their plays there. And also, this is a revenge game for Aaron Jones, who seems to be playing well this year so far. So going to be really interesting to see how this game plays out. I'll be glued to my screen here at 425 watching this game. I'll definitely have this one up and then probably Red Zone up as well, just to see the other games going on. But this one's definitely going to have the bulk of my interest at that 425 slate this Sunday.
There's no better showcase for Malik Willis.
No better showcase, but hopefully Jordan Love plays, and hopefully that's why they sat him out last week to help get him ready for this game, because this is going to be an important one going on down the road.
Yep.
Yeah, I know that's not what Zoltowski wants to
hear.
But...
Nope, I don't. It'll be a good showing for what the North's going to be. It's turning into a division where, hey, at least I did, maybe it's biased, but the Lions are going to take this division, we're the best looking team, a lot of injuries over there. But Minnesota's looked damn good this year already. And I know it's early, but, and Green Bay hasn't looked bad either. And honestly, I'd like to see Malik play more with the way he's been playing. Especially like we talked about this a little bit earlier. This is a true test for him. With this defense that's been just coming after teams. I mean, they made the 49ers, and I know they're hurt, but they made the 49ers look like they were on the same level as the Panthers and the Giants in my eyes. But it'll be a good game to watch. I know as soon as I get home from football, maybe even on the way home, I'll be listening to it in the car, unless I can, because I'll be driving because Liz isn't coming. So great. But yeah, excited to watch this game. And a win's, a loss, whoever loses is fine with me because it just means the Lions have another spot to climb up there.
True. Yeah. Definitely going to be an interesting one to watch for sure.
Definitely.
All right. So that concludes our week 4 previews. As always, great research, boys, great outlooks. I know I didn't really have a lot of analytics like Fish did this time, but mine is more of a vibes game. Definitely going to be interesting to see how that one plays out. But without further ado, let's get into this week's draft. Our closing topic, we're going to draft our favorite arcade games throughout that you would play throughout an arcade. So let me go ahead and randomize the draft order, doing it in real time again. Oh man, you guys are not going to be happy.
Oh God.
It is me in first again.
That's collusion.
Zoltowski is second, and Fish, you're bringing up the rear.
We'll take that though. Fish, I'm coming for your picks.
Love it. I only got 38 picks out here, so many arcade games.
there's quite a few arcade games.
A lot of arcade games.
All right, so this is tough, man. I really hope my 1-1 will hold up here, but this is a game that I've always really been drawn to every time I've gone to an arcade in my life. It is a fun game. They actually made a console version a couple times. NBA Jam. This game is just so much fun to play.
It's a good one.
There's a lot of exploits in the game if you know them. A lot of speed, a lot of fun. I think the classic one is my more favorite. Getting the Pistons from back in the day, that was always a great team to pick. So NBA Jam.
Did you know
my number one pick here?
That one of the programmers on NBA Jam was a diehard Detroit Pistons fan, so he actually programmed it in the game that if they were playing the Chicago Bulls and in the fourth quarter they were better. They had better odds to make shots.
I did not know that, but
That's
I
incredible.
did know Michael Jordan did not sign over his rights to be in the game.
Nope.
So
Boom shakalaka.
Whenever you're playing as the Bulls, it was always Scottie Pippen and whatever other player they had at that time. Dennis Rodman or Tony Kukoc, something like that. So
it's a great 1-1. Love it.
Love it. Love my 1-1. Zoltowski.
1-2. So this one for me, this is a game that I always played as a kid, and another one that I had a home console version of that I played the absolute crap out of. Time Crisis 3 specifically, 3, the third one. The light gun games, you had the pedal you stepped on to come out of cover and shoot, and then at home they had the buttons on the sides. I just had so much fun with it, and I really don't know why I liked it so much. It was just fun to me. But I remember every time we went somewhere that had an arcade, if they had Time Crisis 3, I was playing that game. I played it a ton at home. Had the light guns hooked up to the PS2 on the old LCD TVs. And I've now seen that they have light guns that work on HDMI TVs and monitors. So might have to look. I have a PS2 still. Might have to look at getting some of those. Start busting a copy of Time Crisis 3 out.
Do it, dude. Definitely. That's a great pick. Yeah, the gun games with the pedals, those are always fun.
Yeah.
You're at the 103 here, pal, and the turn.
You know what's wild to me that this pick is still here, right? It's an absolute classic dating back to our parents' age, and it's a staple that we see all the time. We see young kids playing it, old timers playing it. I gotta go with Pac-Man. Like, what are we not? How are we not picking that 1-1?
Pac-Man, what are you, 70?
That's a great pick, Fish. Pac-Man's, I just don't have, I played it. It's fun. I actually just bought the Pac-Man World repack on PS4. It was like $10 at Walmart, so I picked that up. I know it's got the OG version in there. Oh, that's a great pick. It's a classic.
Quick sidebar. Jen Daniels just threw a touchdown to a lineman, by the way. So big man scoring out here.
The game or the name, but then Adam Schefter tweeted a thick 6. So,
oh god,
yikes, dude. Yeah.
Good for that guy, dude.
Bengals starting out 0-3 this year, boys.
It looks like it.
We love fat guy touchdowns. Those are my favorite.
Yes, we do. Hey, Fish with the turn as well.
Yes, the turn. I'm also going to go with an old school classic. I love playing this at arcades, and of course, it came more to the console. They got the revamped. You get like 100 arcade games into one little system. We have a couple of those. Space Invaders. I thoroughly enjoyed Space Invaders.
Oh, I hate you.
That was a lot. It was so much fun. It was high stress sometimes, but it was good.
They had a Game Boy version that I played the living crap out of. It was so fun.
Yeah, it's gotta be my 2-1 on that. That's the little whip around there.
The Futurama episode with Space Invaders. Anybody? Mm-hmm. All right. Well, with that, I will take the 2-2 pick, and I'm gonna go with the Star Wars Trilogy Arcade. Now, you guys know me, huge Star Wars fan. Love the series. Just another game. You play those iconic moments from the original trilogy, the best one. Where you do the Death Star run. They have the Endor speeder bike chase and the Battle of Hoth. And then they also had the lightsaber fights in there. And it's just so fun.
Oh, that is sick. I've never actually seen that before.
Oh, dude, it's you can find it at most because it hung around because Star Wars it's Star Wars. Everyone
Right,
at least has
yeah.
heard of Star Wars. I'd really like to go to that Arcade Legacy place in Sharonville with you guys. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
I've been. It's nice.
Do they have it there? If they don't, I'm surprised.
Cannot confirm nor deny. I don't recall seeing it, but I wasn't really looking for that.
We'll have to make a return trip.
Again, went straight to NBA Jam.
I gotta get one of the newer versions too, where you could play as like the political parties. I think Barack Obama was a playable character in the 360 release of NBA Jam.
I did not know that was a thing. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Nut, I think you're up, bud.
All right, my next pick is another game that you were able to buy on console later in its life. And Fish and I used to play this together. It's called Crazy Taxi.
Crazy Taxi.
That was always such a fun game to sit down and play. One of those driving games that were, you're not sure why you're a Class D driver, but you are. So just deal with it. Great game.
Oh,
a lot of fun.
Good game.
And then I have the turn here. I'm between a couple. I think I'm going to have to go classic Mortal Kombat.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. That's a good pick.
Just
good
classic
pick right there.
Mortal Kombat. That was always fun to watch people play. Even more fun than it was to play yourself, I feel like sometimes. So, the combos, everything, a lot of fun to watch. A lot of fun to play.
Yes. Great game there.
So, Tasky, what's your third pick looking like?
So, my third pick is a classic one that also got a home console, never as good as the original arcade machine. And this one also had a documentary on it. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's a lot of drama in there. It's called the King of Kong, talking about Donkey Kong, the original Donkey Kong made by Nintendo. I don't know what it is about that game. I think a lot of it honestly has to do with the documentary, with Billy Mitchell and all the crazy stuff that went down trying to get that world record, which he also had the Pac-Man world record, Fish, a throwback to Fish's pick. But just, first appearance, got Donkey Kong throwing barrels down at Jumpman because he wasn't Mario at the time. You were just trying to save your girl.
Good knowledge.
It's a great game.
So it's just called the King of Kong?
Yes. Yes. It's called the King of Kong.
Make sure I get that right on there.
Oh, no. Are you just putting the documentary in there? It's Donkey Kong.
Okay. That's what I had.
It's Donkey Kong, but the King of Kong is the documentary you guys should watch on that.
Okay, cool. And then Fish, hit us with your third and final pick here.
Wow, third and final pick. I'm going to go ahead and go a little bit of a different route.
I'm sorry.
Still an arcade game, but not so much you sit at an arcade screen. I'm going to go ahead and go with the classic skee ball.
Ooh.
Skee ball, I mean, I had sat there forever trying to understand and trying to get in that top left corner and couldn't do it. I mean, that was a big popular spot we have one at work. We have one up on the fourth floor at work and people play it and it's the loudest thing in the world. But you can see people smiling. It brings it back to, when they were wee little lads there at the arcade, just slinging those little hard balls into those holes there. It was just a good time. It was a lot of fun. It was one of those mindless games that you didn't have to put any effort in. All you do is you get it and you just roll it down. And if it gets in the 10, okay. If it gets in the 100, cool, great. So that's my third pick there.
That's a great pick, honestly. I didn't even think to go that route. I think it was Dave & Buster's or one of those big arcade chains for a while. They had, no matter what, however many credits you had, you got one free game of skee ball every time. Incredible game. And then it's my 4-1, right? I get it on the whip round here.
Yep.
I'm going to go with a game, again, somewhat along the same lines as skee ball, right? But I remember those deflated balls. You get 6 of them, and you would have either 1 net or 2 nets, and then you would just sit there taking your free throws. The basketball machine game. That game, I've heard, outside of like shooting a paper ball in a trash can and yelling Kobe, I've heard Kobe second most times at those games. It was every shot, trying to just swish it in. And of course, you got to keep your head on a swivel, because if it hits the front of the rim, that thing is that little screen, it didn't go up high enough, because that thing was jetting back 100 miles an hour right into some kid's face. That was always a good time. I always hung out there all the time, just hearing the swish. They used to have the metal chains there. You hear that drop in. Sometimes we'd sneak in, push the thing down, get all the basketballs again, just continuously play without pain, of course. The little heathens. But yeah, basketball machine was the go-to thing for all of us, a lot of us at least. So that was a good time for there.
It's a great pick.
Great pick. Fantastic.
All right,
So,
Zolkowski,
I'm
what's
up.
your final pick here, pal?
So final pick, which again, this one I'm also surprised is still up there, especially because Nut mentioned the basketball counterpart there. I'm gonna go with a little NFL Blitz.
It was on my list.
Oh, dude, I had it on the N64 and I played the ever living crap out of that game. And anytime I find it, I play one game of it. It's just a classic. Being able to pile drive after the play, after the whistle's blown. Fish, I know you probably played with the Eagles and you played the Cowboys and you were just beating the crap out of their players, weren't you?
There was nothing more fun than absolutely obliterating Dallas Cowboys. Legally in the game.
Yeah, legally.
Legally.
For sure. Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, that's my last pick. Nut, finish us off here, sir.
All right, I can't believe this is still here, but my fourth and final pick is going to be the air hockey table.
How's it going?
That's
It was on my list.
Bruised forearms for days.
Air hockey was always so much fun, rifling those shots, hitting them off the boards, I guess is what you would call it in real hockey. So much fun to play that.
That is correct terminology. Congratulations.
Especially when you're playing against somebody who's a little worse than you. You just hit those angles and they're completely lost on how to stop the puck. So air hockey, definitely one of my favorite pastimes going to arcades. Any honorable mentions here, boys?
Honestly, there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot. You always go Jurassic Park, or Turok was always a good one to play too.
Yes. A Metal Slug.
Yeah, there's so many to count. A couple highlights there.
Maybe we create a list and post it on the social medias.
Oh, a little tier list action, huh?
I had Big Game Hunter as well.
It's a good one.
Classic, yeah.
House of the Dead actually scared the living crap out of me as a child for some reason.
It's the same thing with Jurassic Park, dude. Some
But
of
I
those
love it
things
now.
you turn over and you see the dinosaur just coming right at you. You're like, okay, I can't. My heart, it just can't take this.
This is one of the newer kinds, but the Big Game Trucker, whatever that one is, that's a lot of fun.
Oh, any of the racing games.
Yeah, any of the racing games.
Any of Cruising USA.
There's a weight limit on those bikes, but I really pushed it to the limit. So,
yeah.
Oh man,
I always felt like I was gonna tip that over whenever I leaned into my turn.
The whole machine was tipping over. It was wild to me to say.
oh man.
We used to have people on top of it just to keep it in station. So
that's a great draft. I think I won that one. I'm just gonna put it out there.
You might have. I don't know.
Yeah, you had some good ones.
There's some ski ballers out there, though.
There is, and the basketball machine, dude. I am not good at basketball, but I still give it my best shot.
Played the shit out of it. So,
all right, boys. Good draft as always. Good pod.
Good pod.
Good job. Still no timetable for Mason's return. Not sure what's going to go on there, but we will continue course with the three of us. I don't really have anything to plug. I plugged it in the beginning. So, boys, do you have anything to say?
No, just Fish. Go ahead.
No, nothing. Just, bleed green, go Eagles. Fly Eagles fly. You know, we're here for it. I'll see you guys.
One
next
pride. One pride. We're restoring the roar. I'm gonna hop on that streaming bandwagon with you. I know I threw a test stream out there, but got a lot of school going on this month, so it's been kind of slow. But I'd like to get into streaming with you. Maybe stream some Madden or some college football games of the week. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
So
yeah, once I move into the new place, I'll start doing the whole streaming thing as well. And then I'll have a shameless plug here and there.
Let's do it.
Guy told me he'd never get into it, but I'm happy you're thinking about it.
He's a new man.
You've seen my setup. I don't have anything. I can't do anything. I barely have one monitor on here.
We will start doing simulcast. We were kind of been dragging our feet on it a little bit. Well, me personally. I think a good time for us to start that is when Fish gets settled into his place and he gets a space he's comfortable in. Streaming out of. So streaming, video, chatting, all that stuff. Making himself seen on camera, showing his pretty face. So,
steamy.
The Italian Stallion 2.0.
The Italian Stallion with red hair. Anyways, all right. That's all we had for this week. And just remember, always say GG, and thanks for being a gent. See y'all later.
See you next week.
Bye.